Hello, everyone. This is McKee with the District Director for the U.S. Small Business Administration. And we had some technical challenges today, but, we're going to just go with the flow. Liz, Matt, and I are going to do some updates and reports. And I'm going to start off by talking about PPP and where we are at this point in time. I can tell you that over the last week, we have had a number of PPP approvals for small businesses here in the state of Rhode Island, both on first draw as well as second draw. And on the first draw, there was approximately 187 loans that was approved by the agency. And the 187 loans actually totaled out to about $7 million. So it goes to show that those 501c6s and some of the others that did not get the first draw are actually getting through in the first draw. And then as far as the second draw goes, 2,579 loans for approximately $230 million was approved here in the state of Rhode Island in the first week. And I think that's an excellent start to what we're doing. And when you really look at the overall getting $235 million on the street is pretty impressive. Having said that, now we're also looking at some other things as well. We're looking at assisting the hospitality, which is NAICS code 72, North American Standard Industry Codes, which is 72. I apologize for the alphabet soup. And we're working with Dale Venturini and the Rhode Island Hospitality Association on a concentration because they will receive 3.5x in the second round versus what they received in the first round. So we're really moving along with a lot of that. We're doing a lot of seminars with Dale and with other people who are looking at forgiveness. And I just want to talk a little bit about the forms that were put up on SBA's website. Actually, they're fairly easy. If it's $150,000 or less, the forgiveness forms is extremely easy. Do the forgiveness forms, send it to your bank. And I know a lot of the banks are actually sending it out to the individuals. And that's really important. Two things are very important. One, you must spend all of your PPP first round before you can get a second round. And two, for those who are $150,000 or less, it's going to be fairly simple in order to get a second round funding. I have somebody who keeps dinging me over here. I just don't know who it is, but we're going to find out. There's a lot of things that can happen with the small business community. It's really important to make sure that and we've told everybody this, hey, listen, we know that if you're $150,000 or less, you technically do not have to provide the 25% diminution from quarter over quarter 2019 to 2020. But our recommendation is that you actually go forward and do that. And the reason for that is you don't want to have the questions on the back end as it relates to the quarter over quarter. And it's really important to make sure that you're eligible. We've had a lot of people that have called the office and said, I looked at my quarter over quarter 2019, 2020. And remember, it has to be first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. It cannot be February, March, April. It has to be January, February, March, and then subsequently to that all the way around. And the reason for that is the comparison that's being done from a nationwide perspective. So we recommend that you do the comparison because we've had a number of people come in and say, hey, listen, I'm at 24.6. We asked Washington a couple of times, how do we treat 24.6 versus 25? They've been very specific with us and told us that the legislation says 25%. So we're not, the attorneys in Washington have said we really do not have a lot of leeway. So that's kind of where we're at this point in time. So if it's possible, we can we bring Matt in? And also, can we bring Matt into the show? There we go. Hey, Matt, how are you? I know you got.
Thank you.
We all got our masks. I got this one here was from one of our Small Business Week winners, Half Full, which is a great company here in the city of Providence. So, Matt, what do you have from the perspective of DLT today?
Okay, thanks, Mark. Just let me give you some updates on the things that we've been talking about, and I'll introduce a couple of new things. First, we remain incredibly busy at DLT. There are about 85,000 people requesting payments every week in unemployment. That gives us a lot of work to do. The good thing is that last week alone, we put about $23 million in just the extra $300 payments from the feds out into Rhode Island's economy. That's because we moved as quick as we could and put those systems into place. We didn't wait for every possible iteration or version of guidance to come out before that we decided to pay that money. And that money should be returned right into Rhode Island's economy and help Rhode Island small businesses. So that's great. We've talked quite a bit about the unemployment fraud situation. And I was talking to somebody last night, and what I told them was, I think what I've learned the most and what we're all learning is that just how many people have had their information compromised and didn't know it. Remember, like I've said before, no one can file an unemployment claim in your name unless they have your name and your social security number. How do they get that information? Unfortunately, while the internet is a valuable tool and it's been such a great resource for so long, it also is a place where information lives in perpetuity, forever. So because of that, some bad actors are able to go in and buy that information and use it. We know there's been large national breaches from different companies and credit agencies. And because of that, people are able to get your information. And when they have it, they use it. So while fraud prevention is difficult, and we do everything we can and more every week to try to prevent as many claims as possible, fraud detection is extremely important. And we're working with a company, and we use artificial intelligence, and we train that intelligence every week to look at all the claims that are filed and to scrub those claims for different details to find indicators that lead us to believe that those are fraud. And if they are, we place a hold on them. When that claim is held, an email goes out to the email address on the claim that says this claim was held as it's suspected to be fraudulent. If it is not fraudulent and you would like to overcome this denial and get your money out of the system, please use this web tool. And if you can't use the web tool, please call this number, and there's a special dedicated number. And then you have to verify your information. And if you can verify your information with some basic info that you would have, then we release the hold and issue your payments. And if you can't, it remains frozen until such time that you can. That is to root out all of the bad actors and all the people that maybe would have a little bit of info on you, but not enough to pass that test. That's similar to what's happening in other places. Rhode Island got on it early. This fraud scheme happened on the West Coast first and kind of moved its way across the country. Rhode Island was hit just like every other state was. And just today, I heard about an employer who had employees that have received 1099s from Ohio because they had claims filed there in their name. Again, it's because they had your information and then they filed the claim. If you have questions about unemployment or unemployment fraud, please call the number on the screen, 415-6772. Yes, the call center is very, very busy. And yes, you will have to try probably many times. Please do. It will not always be that way, but it's that way right now. Try late in the day. Try Saturday morning. Just keep trying, and at some point, I assure you, you'll be able to get through. Otherwise, check our website at dlt.ri.gov. We update banners on top of that site every day. Go into the UI section if you want more detailed information about unemployment. There's a section on everything else we do here at DLT as well. You can find all the information that you need, and if you have specific questions, give us a call. A couple other things really quick. On that fraud issue, this is the time of year that we send 1099s out that record your earnings for the year so you can file your taxes. We are seeking an extension from the federal government. A lot of states are doing the same thing, although we're getting them out this week. We just want to make sure that people know they may be coming in a week or so. We're trying to get them out as quickly as possible. What makes that more difficult is the fraud that we've been dealing with. Inevitably, someone is going to get a 1099 that didn't know a claim was filed in their name. We need you to follow the steps that we have already suggested, and keep an eye on our website for any new tools that we introduce to report this. We will make sure that the claim is frozen if it hasn't already been frozen by the system, and we will get you the right information, a corrected 1099, so you can file it with your taxes. Because everyone who was a victim of fraud, if payments were made and they receive a 1099, will get the information so they can be held harmless when they file their taxes. You are not responsible for any payments that may have gone out before we stop those claims. Most of the claims were stopped before a payment ever went out. It is going to happen where you'll see a payment did go out. I was a victim of fraud. No payments went out. in my claim, my wife was a victim of fraud, and one payment did go out for her claim. So when we file our taxes, we're going to have to file that special 1099. Keep an eye on our website. This week, it will say if the portal is open and you can download your own 1099, so you don't have to wait for the mail. Otherwise, it will come via U.S. mail, which will probably come next week, or it could be the week after. We're prioritizing the Rhode Island 1099s to get them out as quickly as possible. The others will go after that. I think, Ben, I'm okay, and we can go for questions, and then I'll hang around for the session today. Can't hear you, Ben. Still can't hear you. So while we're waiting for that, I do want to, well, here's a question right in front of me. Matt, we received our new rate for 2021. I have questions on this. Do I need to pay this rate until it is resolved? If you have questions on that, you should reach out to the Lieutenant Governor's office. They can contact you, connect you with me directly. We can take a look, and there's the email address right there, ltgov@ltgov.ri.gov. In the event that your rate went up based on use last year, it was for a couple of reasons. One, a claim got in that was fraudulent and we weren't aware of it, which maybe we just didn't get to it for some reason. We'll address that right away. Two, claims were filed against your account and they were not filed as COVID-related claims. All COVID-related claims were non-chargeable, so they would not have impacted your rate. If it was a claim that wasn't COVID-related, for instance, if you're a seasonal employer and this is the season when you typically lay people off, then if that's not COVID-related, that would be chargeable like normal. Anything else I can try to help, Ben? I would urge people to continue to look at our website for information about WorkShare, which is a very busy program. And that's a great program that allows people to temporarily reduce the hours of their staff, to retain that skilled staff, and to allow them to collect partial unemployment benefits while they're also getting paid for reduced hours. Right here in front of me is another question from Deb Sherman Kavanaugh. Matt, I'm an employer. I misplaced my UI Sides pin. There's a request for information. Deb, I'm going to cut right to an answer. Contact the Lieutenant Governor's office, ltgov@ltgov.ri.gov. We'll get you that taken care of right away.
How does one? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Awesome. I am so. You guys are probably aware of this. If you're not, like 90% of Rhode Island and the Northeast is having internet issues right now, which is why the Lieutenant Governor is not on at the moment. He is having internet issues. How does one check a balance of unemployment insurance?
I'm going to assume that means a balance of credit. So unemployment operates like a bank account. So when you begin your claim, you have a total amount of money available, and you have a total amount of weeks you can collect. And those, as you collect, your balance goes down and your weeks get reduced. Right now, the easiest way to check would be to try to check your claim status online, if it will show you that or if it won't. Or you can reach out directly to me if you're on this session through the Lieutenant Governor's office, and we can have somebody check for you. Otherwise, I urge everybody, please try calling the call center. You never know. You might be in at the right time and get in, and they can do that for you as well. Most people don't need to worry about that, though. The balance isn't relevant when we have as many extensions as we have right now. Just keep certifying on Sundays while you're trying to get through.
We have a question about the executive order for unsafe work environments for people who leave their job because they do not feel safe at work. And they wanted to know if that includes like the owner or manager of the restaurant or whatever who refused to, if your bosses refuse to wear masks, deny that the virus is real, etc. Would the executive order apply to that for being eligible for unemployment?
Well, I'm assuming they're talking about President Biden's initiative.
Yes.
That happened this week. We don't have any information on that from the federal government yet. Typically, the United States Department of Labor, which runs the unemployment program across the country, will issue guidance that tells states how to deal with things like that. I could say this much. If you have a reason to leave work because it's unsafe and people are not adhering to Rhode Island's established COVID protocols, we would generally consider that a good reason for quitting a job or leaving a job and allow you anyway. So I don't think it's going to be that much different than how we're treating it, other than we'll have some federal support for a practice that we already have in place.
Awesome. If we have verified that no payments were frozen from a claim and our account is frozen, do we need anything else? I don't know if you...
You should follow the guidance that we've put out, which is to contact the credit agencies. It looks like you already did, to put a freeze on your credit. And if no payments made, then you don't need to do anything when you file your taxes. You just file as if you normally would, because no payments have been made. You don't need to do anything.
Awesome. And I have one more question. I don't know if this is for you or Mark, but if it is, I'll bring Mark back on because he's in the back. Do I need to count EI? Well, no, I think this is for you. Do I need to count EIDL as income when comparing quarters? That might be for Mark.
I don't really understand the question, so maybe
I
it's a
don't
Mark question, or I need some clarification. I'm sorry.
Mark, is that a question for you?
Can you repeat the question, please, Ben?
Do I need to count an EIDL loan as income when comparing quarters?
So are they talking about, well, initially, no. Yes, they're talking about when you look at the 25% diminution a quarter over quarter, the answer is no, because that's technically a loan, and some people are just holding those dollars out there for long-term reserves. So the answer is no. But Matt, I do have a question for Matt,
Sure.
because
Yeah.
we've had a lot of overlap between Matt and, of course, EIDL. But Matt, what about if they are finding fraud, that somebody did report, should they be going to their local police department or state police? Do they need to report this?
Well, typically we've told people to, and it's on our website, that you should report it to the state police. The state police are coordinating this on our behalf. That is largely for the investigative reasons. If you've reported it to DLT already, we've already done on our end what we have to do. You should essentially, you could report it to one of two places, DLT or the state police. But for the investigation, it's always good for the state police to have a record of it. So it doesn't hurt to do overlap.
Because SBA is now going, because we have millions upon millions of people who have been defrauded on idle loans, and what the recommendation has been, and there'll be additional information coming out within the next week, and that is to have a police report. So if you're having, because we're finding a lot of people who have unemployment insurance claims, fraud, they also may have very well a fraud complaint from idle. So the recommendation is going to be get a report from either local or state police. Also, in addition to that, they're going to ask for personal identification, and it's not quite an affidavit, but it's an attestment to this is not my loan. I did not apply for it, and there's a process. Because remember, once that loan has been approved, there are some numbers associated with those individuals, similar to UI claims, where at the end of the year, whether they like it or not, a 1099 is going to show up on their doorstep.
Sure.
So they're going to be responsible for it. Same thing with an idle loan. So there will be additional information that's coming out saying you need to go through these steps in order to make sure that we take that out of our servicing department. You're not responsible for it. But the other thing is, we've talked, Matt, a number of times about locking down credit. Because it's really important. If people can't check your credit, if you've locked it down yourself, then you know that you're protecting yourself against potential long-term fraud.
Yeah, and I was going to bring that up too, Mark, and thanks for raising that. One of the I said already, one thing this has shown us is just how many people have had their information compromised.
Right.
So my public service announcement for the day is mirroring what you said many weeks ago and many times. Everybody should check their credit.
Right.
Make sure that no one is in there doing anything in your name that you're not aware of. It's just a safety precaution, but right now we're just seeing the introduction of all these federal programs has really lured the bad guys out of the shadows. And, while we're fighting really hard to put them back in the shadows, we need to make sure they haven't done any damage to all of you that are on this session. So please check and make sure.
Yeah, and a lot of people talking, because we put up a new platform for the second drawer PPP loans. And actually, it's not directly into our E-Trans system. And basically what's happening is we are filtering it through this other system so that we can weed out the fraud. So a lot of the lenders right now are getting these error codes, and that's for them to go back and check. And we've had a number of people who've attempted to get loans in the name of other people, which is, fraud. We want to make sure those small businesses that need loans and are eligible for loans get them, and I think that's really important. And to go back again, the lieutenant governor is not here. He's having some technical issues, but certainly we're appreciative of what he does and having these sessions every Tuesday, because it gives Matt and I an opportunity to have some FaceTime and to get the information out to the public.
Absolutely.
The more PPP we get out there, the better. I agree, Governor. That's exactly what we've been saying, and we've actually been doing a substantial amount. $235 million is a lot of money in 1 week. Do you have a question, Ben?
Pamela's question, by the way, she commented and said it is her PPP application comparing 19 to 20. So when comparing 19 to 20, she is asking if she needs to count the EIDL loan as income.
So again, she's certifying the fact that she's had a 25% diminution in from 19 to 20. Her PPP application is going to be based off of what she submitted last time, which is employee salaries. That's going to come back at 2.5. I'm assuming, I don't know if she's in the restaurant industry or NAICS code 72. If she is, then she'd be 3.5. You're basically going to do the same process as you did last time, but the difference is certification that you're 25% difference less. And that's revenue.
Question from Mark: is there any more grant money?
Yeah, and I didn't talk about the shuttered venue grants, Ben, which is being worked on currently. There is $15 billion that has been set aside for what's called shuttered grants, shuttered venues. And the shuttered venues is there are, and depending upon where you sit in this process, if you're 100% shut, if you're 75% shut, or 50% or 25 is how they're going to deal with these. So if you're PPAC and it goes up to 10 million, and that is a pure grant. So you got PPAC, you got Trinity, but you also have other places that have live entertainment or people who are related to the entertainment industry. Here is the kicker to that. If you get a shuttered grant, you cannot get a PPP. If you get a PPP, which is a payroll protection program, you cannot get a shuttered grant. So you got to make a decision in those two. Admittedly, we were on a conference call with Washington and about 20,000 individuals a couple of days ago, and we're still waiting for additional information on how to apply for shuttered grants.
Okay. This is a lot of good information that people definitely need. Thank you guys. Even with the internet issues, all of New England is having internet issues, I'm being told right now. So thank you guys so much for staying on and being a part of this. Two more quick questions. Mark,
Sure.
Did you say they are considering 72 NAICS code for, or is it a definite that it will qualify for 3.5%?
So if you're a NAICS code 72, which is hospitality and hoteliers, you're automatically qualified for 3.5x.
Okay.
So that's an absolute. Now, I will tell you that, and I've talked to the Lieutenant Governor about this. We had a number of individuals who were travel related, but they didn't fall within NAICS code 72. And unfortunately, we cannot adjust that because the law states only NAICS code 72.
Cynthia, this question is for Matt. I have a friend that had fraudulent DLT filing under her name. She needs to file for unemployment for herself. What does she need to do?
Okay, the short answer to that, Cynthia, is to reach out to the Lieutenant Governor's office through their email so they can reach out to me. And here's why. Unemployment claims are essentially controlled by a control number, which is your social security number. So when someone files a claim using your social, that tells the system there's already a claim there. Even if we've locked it down with a hard lock, we have a lock that goes on that only 2 people at DLT can take off. And that's because we know it's called confirmed fraud. We know it's fraud. We don't want a staff member taking it off accidentally. So we firmly lock it down. So if somebody goes into the system, the whole system's a different color even, which means they can't touch it. They can just see what it says. We need to have somebody remove that claim entirely, void it, and get it out of the system so the person that needs to file can. Because if not, they'll try to get in and there's a dog already in the doghouse. It's not going to work. So we need to do something to make sure that they can get in. So right now, everybody on this session, go ahead, contact the Lieutenant Governor's office. They'll reach out to me. I'll have our staff work on it as quickly as we possibly can. And there's the email address.
Again, I apologize for my hand going over the camera
constantly. Oh, that's
fine. So 2 more questions and then I'm done. I'm so sorry. Liz, we're coming to you in a second. Let's see, Diane, i.e. shuttered grant, can you pay off / return PPP funds to apply for the grant?
That is a no, based upon the information that I have right now. If you've gotten and we're not talking about PPP first draw. We're talking about PPP second draw, which means after December the 27th. If you got a PPP first draw, that's fine. You're okay. It's not a conflict. But with the PPP second draw and the addition of the $15 billion for shuttered venues, you have to choose one or the other.
Awesome. And can shuttered grant be used for a shuttered entertainment facility that wants to open under a new owner?
Yeah, excellent question. I don't know the answer, but I do know because the technical is you have to have been in business on February the 15th of 2019. So the question is, and actually we're doing a session at 2:00 today that hopefully will get some of these questions answered, but specifically the establishment may have been there, but ownership it may determine the issue here. So, I mean, I'm not going to give a no. I'm not going to give a yes. I will ask the question when we get on with Washington later on today.
Awesome. Thank you both. And we're going to bring on everyone's favorite, Liz Tanner from DBR. Hey, Liz.
Hello. Hey, Liz.
Wonderful, wonderful mask. I don't have any. Does anybody have your masks ready?
Yes, Liz.
Very nice.
Liz, this is a company called Half Full. Hashtag moving forward. This is in the city of Providence. This was one of our Small Business Week winners last year. So I have to take you over there when we can get back to regular order.
I would like to do that. What does that business do?
Basically is doing referrals and helping get people through difficult times. Both could be medical, could be you need additional assistance. It's really a very broad-based company, and the ownership is fantastic.
Fabulous.
Awesome.
I just want to say thanks to everybody. I know this has been a little, me, Mark, and Matt, we said, you know what, fine, we'll do our own little talk show. Yeah. That'll be great. So
we always want to help the Lieutenant Governor, soon to be Governor. Thank you, Governor, for allowing us to do this. We always have fun every Tuesday getting the information out to the people.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Matt.
He said, I like it in the back. he can hear us and he can see us, but he can't participate because his internet is frozen. And Verizon said that it's from Brooklyn up. So, obviously, thank you to everybody that's watching right now as well. All right, Liz, take it away.
Okay, thanks. Hello, everyone. The Lieutenant Governor had asked me to do something a little different this week. He asked me to talk about the Department of Business regulation because of the wide variety of things that it does. So, Ben, I'm going to take a few minutes to speak if you want to try to see what you can do, for the LG in the background. So,
yeah, go ahead.
So essentially, we're the Department of Business Regulation. We regulate lots and lots of different kinds of businesses. And so when you regulate, what falls underneath that is licensing, permitting, registration, auditing, the handling of complaints. We work with municipal and federal governments, and then we just, deal with whatever comes up, right? So it just depends. So I like to say that I have the most interesting job in government. It is never boring, and you'll understand why by the time I'm done here, because there's a wide variety of things that the Department of Business Regulation does. And in a small state, you are able to put it under one umbrella, but wait till you hear all the things that happen in one department with 150-ish employees that are focused on these things. So first we have financial services. So that's the regulation of all banking, insurance, securities, and charitable organizations. So all of the banks that are in Rhode Island, they need to be licensed, obviously. We need to make sure that they're keeping good books, so we audit them and do things like that. Same thing with our insurance companies. And, that's a big part of what we do. That's the bulk of our employees because, of course, we need a good, solid financial institution. And for those Rhode Islanders who are here back in the credit union crisis, we've been shoring up a really solid team of folks that have been working in that industry for a long time. Next, we have gaming and athletics. So we regulate the Twin River casinos along with the Lottery Commission. And we also regulate all boxing and mixed martial arts. So I'm actually also, one of my other titles is I am also the boxing commissioner for the state, the only female in the country as I understand it. And so that's always very interesting for us to regulate that. We also do commercial licensing. There's about a dozen sort of random, they don't fit under any other umbrella licenses that we do. And that could be anywhere from mobile homes to realtors to auto body to food trucks. So there's a whole bunch of them there. And we receive the information, we provide them a license. We handle any complaints that come in about them. We also are the liquor appellate body. So when you read about a nightclub who there was a problem, that's us, right? So the city of X might shut down that nightclub, but that nightclub has the ability to appeal it, and that comes to the Department of Business Regulation. So we handle all of those. We also oversee marijuana. I saw there was a couple of comments in the chat already about that, and that's all part of the legislation. All of the comments that you've recommended, and once that legislation gets passed and we have recreational marijuana, then those are all things that we can do. But in the meantime, we're unable. And then really, what's interesting is 3 years ago, the Department of Business Regulation absorbed the fire and building offices. They had been scattered throughout state government. And because most of their functions are licensing and permitting and planning, they came under the Department of Business Regulation. So in the state building office, we have merged 3 different departments, and that's the Building Code Commission that creates the code for Rhode Island for all construction, as well as the Contractors Registration and Licensing Board, as well as any complaints about contractors. And then the Design Professional, which is a variety of professions specific to design. But to give you a sense, it's engineering, architects, and then for some reason, accountants are in there. I'm not sure why, but accountants are in that space. And then last is the Fire Marshal's office, which includes the Fire Academy, where all firefighters, or most firefighters in the state, are trained. It's investigations that happen after fire events, as well as plan review. And then we also oversee the bomb squad, which is very interesting. Keeps me on my toes when there's some things going on. What's interesting to note here, I just want to flag as a sort of side note, is with everybody being home, we have seen a 25% increase in fires in people's homes. That's a significant increase that we are very worried about, especially as we get into more of the winter season. So we do ask you as a homeowner and a business owner to go back and think about what your fire plan is. Are you protected? Are you taking care of your candles? Are you using a space heater properly? When's the last time you got your furnace checked? Things like that. So there has been a big increase. And first and foremost, make sure that your fire alarms, smoke detectors work in your home. From a COVID perspective, what the Department of Business Regulation does is we work with the Department of Health and the Commerce Corporation and the Executive Office of Commerce to create those restrictions, right? So we receive all the information from Rhode that tells us where things are the most dangerous, and we help to create the restrictions that you see and adjusting them properly. And then I'm also the chair of the COVID Enforcement Task Force, where we receive anywhere between 500 and 1,500 complaints or inquiries per week. And we work with all state agencies to address them. I'm really proud of that work because there really hasn't been a system to receive business complaints and then dole them out to people to kind of address them. And we've knocked down all the silos of state government. And we have a person in every single state agency who addresses any complaints that we get. So that's very, was exciting for us to be able to do that. And we hope to continue that post-COVID as well. We also do all the inspections on all businesses in the state. As you know, we do that to increase customer confidence. We want people to feel safe going out. So the compliance numbers for inspections have really been incredible. And we've done 35,000 plus inspections so far, which is just amazing. Our business owners are so good. And we've the third part of what this task force does is the enforcement, which I reported before, but it's about 1.2% of the inspections that we do result in some sort of enforcement. So we're really only going after the worst of the worst. And a lot of that is based on the complaints that we receive from the public asking us, pleading with us to please do something because they are so bothered by what they're seeing wherever it is they are. So that's just a sort of a brief summary of what the Department of Business Regulation does on a regular basis. Nonetheless, what we do for COVID. So I'm going to try to see if I can find some questions for me, unless Ben's got them for me.
Yeah, quick question, Liz, from Ben in Westerly. Is there anything that you guys aren't in charge of, and could you leave some jobs for other people?
Like I said, it is not a boring job, right? There is always something new going on. I learn a little bit about something every day. Between the boxing and the bomb squad, how cool is that, right? I get to learn so many different things that I didn't ever think that I would learn. But I'm really blessed with a team of people who have to really pivot, right? Because in most states, you have a dozen people or more handling each of the things that I just mentioned. And here we have this staff of 150. 150 sounds big, but in And some other state, that would probably be 600 or 700 employees that would handle all of those things, just because there's so much. So we have
sound big
experts.
when you 150 doesn't sound big when you realize everything that you just rattled off.
Yeah. Exactly. So, so we're blessed with a staff who is multi-talented, multifaceted, to learn, to be able to handle all the stuff that comes our way, because it's just a lot, you know. And so all those things have to be taken care of on a state and federal and local level.
Let's see. Did she discuss bars yet? Yeah, bars and restaurants. I know that a lot of people are talking about, specifically, I think bars and the curfew and the bar seating, and you know, there's most of the time there's a lot of frustration in the comments about that. Understandable, but you know, what's the situation with that right now?
So I can say that we had a meeting just a few hours ago to discuss sort of when will we be comfortable with lifting some of the restrictions and what will some of those restrictions be. And so we are very much listening to what both the industry as well as the citizenry is requesting of us, and we do hope to make changes as appropriate. We are committed to the slot we're in now for at least a couple of weeks, but we'll be making appropriate changes as soon as we can. But we are in the thick of it. We're 4 or 5 days into lower numbers, not great numbers, but better numbers. So if the numbers keep trending the way we'd like them to, then that increases the chances that restrictions would be lifted. But as of right now, we're staying where we're at.
And Diane says, Liz, please consider lifting the 14-day quarantine when traveling internationally. Why is the negative test not enough?
So I can tell you that a new order is coming out, if not today or tomorrow. It will not be a full 14 days. It will be less, but there still will be a quarantine period when traveling internationally. You got to have some kind of rules there. I mean, it's just way too dangerous right now, particularly when you're looking at some of these strains, whether they come from the United Kingdom or Brazil or whatever else is going on out there. But there will be a lightened version of that comes out either today or tomorrow.
Awesome. And yeah, so I think that's it for the questions. I don't see any other things that you didn't do. LG, can you give me a wave? Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully the future governor of Rhode Island, Dan McKee.
I've been listening.
Yes.
Oh my God. I've been listening. I've been making my comments. Very valuable information. And thumbs up on the job that our team was doing there. You don't need me, so I can just go off into the sunset. No, that's great, Ben. Thank you for connecting me. You think all this problems? Did you solve all the internet problems in the state while we were on the call?
I did not, and it's not just the state; it's all of New England right now, and part of New York and stuff like that. So, something.
I tried to give you some time. I tried to talk a little longer to give you some time to make.
Well, stay on with that. Do we have Lori and Chris coming on?
We have Chris.
Good.
We have Chris Parisi.
Yeah, that's
Chris
great.
made it. All right, Chris.
All right,
I used my phone.
If you need me.
There you go.
You use your phone? I tried to use my phone. That didn't work. But I was enjoying the program. I know why so many people watch this and listen to all the expert and good information that's out there. So that's really good. So, Chris, we got a couple more minutes before we get off at 1, and then I get to do my closing and opening remarks in the same 2 minutes. So that's good. We want to give people updates on things we're working on and some of the turmoil we're creating. So we're going to make sure that we get laid out and tell everybody what's going on. But you're a big part of it, Chris, as Liz is as well. Liz has been helping us through the transition. So I want to publicly thank Liz for that. I mean, they're really helping a great deal, trying to figure out how to, make this a smooth transition. And it is. And, but, it is challenging to kind of meld in, current leaders with new leaders. And I think we're going to get there. So that's what Liz, thanks for helping out there. Chris, you had a good session yesterday and kind of like focusing on the small businesses and some of the short and long-term issues. We've heard from Mark about needing to get PPP out. It's unbelievable. He's got $245 million that is going to be hitting our bank accounts for our small businesses shortly in the first week. So that's a really good start. That's clearly one of our big issues. Question came up about grants, and internally we'll certainly do a review of what is available and what was allocated and what was awarded and what still is available to work with the coalition to come up with a strategy there. So that's all important. But yeah, give us a little overview of the work that you've been doing and the culmination of that work right now to start to create an organization that is an official organization.
Yes, thank you, Governor. We're formally a 501c6, and there'll be much more information coming up about that. But right now, we're in the thick of things, and it's all about listening to our small business members, right? Our job is to give them a voice, to listen on what issues are really going on in the trenches so that we can report up and share that information with folks like yourself and your team that are listening to that grassroots level, because that's how we're going to create the change and make our state more small business friendly, right? Is that we're going to be listening to the small businesses and hearing from them and putting pragmatic solutions in place that can elevate our state to be a more small business friendly state. So as you alluded to, Governor, is that there are a lot of immediate issues. These small businesses are hurting right now. I mentioned a report that recently went out of over 10,000 small businesses were surveyed, and about a third of them were unable to pay rent for January. And then when you dug that a little deeper, when you looked at minority-owned businesses, 50%, half of minority-owned small businesses were unable to pay January rent. And when you look at restaurants, no surprise there, they were the #1 category. Almost 2/3 of them could not afford January rent when a national poll of 10,000 small businesses. So these PPP loans, incredibly important. The 3.5 to the hospitality restaurant industry is incredibly important so that we can survive these several months. But there's a lot of work to be done, and we look forward to working with all of the coalition members and small businesses, working with the General Assembly, putting a legislative agenda together, and working with you in your office so that collaboratively we can support our small businesses to get through this crisis and eventually long-term develop to a small business friendly state.
Yeah, Chris, when you mentioned the rent issue, we know that many of the people who owns the properties that rely on the rent to pay the mortgages are small business owners as well. Many. They're not all large retail malls and that type of thing. A number of them are owned by investors, but that's their business, so they're struggling as well. So if our small businesses can pay the rent, then where there is rent to be collected, the people who own the properties are going to be able to pay their mortgage. So it all kind of folds in together. I think one of the things that I just wanted to go over, let people know that are watching, especially our small business community, we're creating a transition team, and because it's really a short time frame, we don't know what the date is. We're pretty absolutely sure that it's going to happen within the next few weeks. So we're going to take this transition group, and you were on a call the other night with me with a larger group trying to build a map of Rhode Island in the best way we can, as quickly as we can, and that'll continue to be a work in progress. But so we're going to have these subgroups that we're going to have up to transition, but then 100 days after transition. That's going to give the small business community the opportunity with yourself and others that will be on that transition group to really, coordinate and to have the messaging delivered. So those groups are meant to not set policy, but they're meant to provide me with a good folder, a summary strategy of where we are at the moment on these particular things, whether it's small business, or the homeless issue, or the COVID, the vaccination issues, or the budget issues, or the equity justice issues, which there'll be a crew, and then many of these people, I think we have several hundred people that are around the state that are going to be involved on different particular segments. We'll be forming groups that make sense to them, not just sense to me. So I think that's the next opportunity in terms of weighing in, Chris.
For sure, and we appreciate the grassroots approach that you take to as an elected official, really listening to everyone, and really making the map of Rhode Island reflective on those that are working around you. So we appreciate it and look forward to working together, and specifically for me representing small businesses.
Well, we're going to keep this forum going, and as long as I have a good internet connection, I'll weigh in. But now I feel very comfortable that if I'm, called to DC to get a lot of money for the small business community, I can go to a meeting like that, and we can keep this this programming going, because it's very valuable. And then it's going to be a good opportunity, Chris, over time for you and others that are specifically working on that transition group that I'm going to extend 100 days. To be really, being public and airing out issues that really matter to our small business community. So your leadership is great, and Laurie as well as Justin initially, and now all the groups that have been involved here over the last 10 months. We need them to keep on staying involved, Chris.
For sure.
Yeah, we need that, and I believe that everybody is important, and then everyone can play a role in making our state a better place to live. It's not, it's not just looking for what Rhode Island government can do for those businesses. It's really what can the people in the state of Rhode Island do if they're asked to take a positive role on this effort.
Certainly, and we look forward to that, and pulling our sleeves up and getting ready to work to do whatever we have to do, because the small businesses, they are the backbone. I call it the heart, of our economy. So, it's very important, and we appreciate all you're doing.
All right, Chris, we'll be talking during the week, and then we'll be back here at noontime next week and giving people updates.
Good.
Thanks. Well, I get to do my opening and my closing in the same 2 or 3 minutes. Isn't that great that Mark and Matt and Liz and Chris were all, they're so involved, and I think that the program that we've been able to have here with Ben's help is positioned us very well to take the next steps that are going to happen. And I just want to outline some of the things that are going on right now in our transition, which is, it's an extraordinary time, right? There's a transition in the governor's office. I know that the hearing started today for Governor Raimondo, and I believe that's on a fast track. Again, it's certainly a source of pride to have our governor be, one step away from becoming part of the cabinet for the President of the United States. And what we're trying to do is the best we can is to get up to speed, to make sure that we have the particulars, as many as we can. So when I do get sworn in, we'll be up and running, and to be able to kind of merge in, new leadership that I represent and current leadership that is really doing, great jobs. You just heard about Liz and DBR, and I've had a great relationship, and I keep on saying that over and over again. I'm not sure that the media really gets it, but we have great relationships with current cabinet members, and we expect that the majority of them are going to continue to serve the state of Rhode Island and work with me as the next governor. But I want to just make sure that everybody understands that there's certain things that are important to me, and I'm sure that they're going to be reflected in the ongoing policy. You've heard the small business issues for sure. The top priority, which I've said over and over again, is our health and our safety, and we've said that on this program, and we've reinforced that with our masks, right, to make sure that we have our masks on. I got the Rhode Island mask there, so that's not going to change. And then in terms of, I do believe that we need to work with our schools in many, many ways that we're doing currently to keep everybody safe and try to figure out a way to, as we get more vaccines, to raise the teachers up on the priority list. It's not meant to overstep the current, the current priority list, which is the people that are certain age groups that could be impacted very negatively if they happen to catch the virus, and hospitalizations may occur, and the pressure on our hospital system results. So it's not as reported that, and in fact, I said that when I was interviewed, that the priority list of individuals that are on the front lines and that are in certain age groups of 75 and older, I think that 65 should be quickly added to the mix. And so we want to make sure that that those messages get out. And we're partnering in. I'm meeting with Dr. Alexander Scott every morning now for a meeting with Governor with the General Callahan, Chris Callahan, who have both agreed, and I'm really pleased that they've agreed to stay on in the new administration, as many other announcements are going to be made for the cabinet positions over the next few days. We've interviewed all the way in now. We've spent that time last week. Now we're interviewing another set of people who are involved with the current governor's administration. And so we want to be respectful and fair in that respect. So that's what we're doing. So it's coming out, in some minds slow, but I can tell you we've only been at this for about 2 weeks. So we're going to be ready, and you're going to hear that there's certain things that I have that I believe in, that we're going to be careful, and we're going to implement things that have to do with small businesses. Liz talked about taking a look at expanding the business footprints of the businesses that have been asked to restrict their operations to keep us safe. And I think it's a good time to take a look at that and take a very intentional and intelligent effort to kind of incrementally increase that footprint of our small businesses. And then finally, the education piece. We need to make sure that we keep on working, and I will be, about this lost learning time. I believe that municipal education departments, like I was able to open up with our town council in the town of Cumberland in 2007, is a really good strategy to help and partner in with our current school districts with a municipal education department 52 weeks out of the year, and try to really intentionally strategize how we pick up these lost learning hours. And I've said this many times. It doesn't matter if you're high income, low income, moderate income. It doesn't matter if you're minority, non-minority, headed into a public school or a private school. Whether you're a boy or a girl, hundreds of hours are being lost right now because of the circumstances. And our school districts are doing everything in their power to minimize that. But it's there, it's real, and we need to be intentional in strategies to make up that difference. And that's one of my thoughts of gradually strategizing to get vaccinations into the age groups that could be impacted, that are in our classrooms, in a way that get more and more of our kids in the classrooms. The sooner we get them in, the less learning time we lose. So that's why it's an important part of the work that we're doing right now. And we are doing a good transition. And I believe that, there's certainly going to be some level of challenges to make sure that that my new thoughts are and blended in with the current thoughts that are going on in all our departments, are blended in a way that are as that are as least disruptive as possible. And that's our intention. And I believe that when I get sworn in, any bumps that we're going through right now, we're going to resolve, because we're working with some really good professional people that have the best interest of the state of Rhode Island's health and the economy and the education on their minds. So until I think we'll be here tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, willing, with internet willing, and we'll be here. And thank you so much for listening in. And please join in the effort. If you're interested in getting involved in some of these groups I talked about on our transition, we're going to carry that 100 days into our new administration, so that we can make sure that we're, getting our feet in the ground in many areas we can. Everybody's important. And everybody has an opportunity, in my mind, to contribute into making the state of Rhode Island a great place to live. Stay safe.